big welcome as we move into Series 2 of the video series, Experience Living Purposefully into Your Very Own Story. Series 2 is of experiences 11 to 20, and each one of these is one aspect of how our very own stories interweave. Experience 16 deals with the particular aspect of a third layer of me in my skin. Let us pause. Sit comfortably on your chair. Leave all else as distraction as you are present to one of your deepest desires. What do other parts of your inner landscape have to say about this desire? Hold all that has been revealed gently and note any feelings you have about the whole or any particular point. When the time is right for you, let your awareness return to the energy in the room. Perhaps ask yourself, how was that for me? Perhaps a word, phrase, sense, image emerges. And perhaps make a note of this. So let's revise the first two layers. Earlier we did inner landscape, more conscious feelings. And the more conscious feelings were of sensings, desires and choosings. We deal with these every day at this more surface level of our inner energy system. And then we noted that underneath that there is an invisible world, tangible, intangible, if you like. And there's more than energy underpinning these less conscious feelings, like preferences, desires, inner wisdom modes, arising, and you say, where did that come from? And yet it came from your especially from emotional and kinesthetic intelligence, and we're going to deal with a few other inner wisdom modes in this experience 16. Intuition. Well, we haven't got any control over intuition. Intuition is a very small piece of tangible information, and yet we know it at a different level. So that's the invisible world. And we found that the pathway between the inner landscape level and the invisible world was to pause, be present, notice, and then sort what you notice for choosing what is for growth rather than what is for non-growth. And so we come to a third layer. And again, this is from John O'Donoghue in his 3 CD series. He called the third level Divine Imagination. And we're back to that well that we referred to earlier. It's an eternal ocean, well of wisdom, knowing, caring, archetypes. And I'll talk more about archetypes as we move into this experience. Much more than energy in these. Collective unconscious arising to each one of us. Divine imagination, far beyond an invisible world. And the pathway to this world is about becoming aware of the invitations that are in dream energy, which I will talk more about, archetypal arisings, which I'll talk more about, caring essence, which we had in Series 1 and revised in this Series 2. So, here are the 3 levels. In a landscape, there's a pathway about choosing for the invisible world. There's a pathway down deeper from the invisible world to be in touch with divine imagination, and that is by increasing awareness of the invitations that are much deeper than our intuition and inner wisdom modes. So, here's a revision. We have inner landscape energies. And within the invisible world of me and my skin, I have layers of energy. And so now an explanation of some of these deepest layer, which is a tiny bit of us and a whole lot of more than. Facts. Even if we don't remember dreams, dreams are still going on. Dreaming is there for everyone. We dream at a REM stage of sleeping, and experiments have proved that if the REM stage of sleeping is eliminated, that person is disoriented in waking life. And also, dreams specifically have symbolic language. And that symbolic language, if you get the pointer and the invitation from the pointer and the layout of the dreamscape, that has the potential for pristine wisdom for us, 100% truth, if you get that symbol, pointer, invitation. And those invitations are far beyond our comprehension or composition. Facts. Dreams remembered after sleeping. If we make the effort to know how to, and then give the time to let the symbolic language of the dream that is remembered reveal its pointer to an invitation regarding our waking life, our lives are greatly enriched with directions that are for our inner growth and balance, and that's much faster than if we depend on our intellect only, and add intellect, feelings and intuition as ways for finding the direction to growth and balance. Dream symbolic language has a potential for pristine wisdom for us, far beyond our comprehension or composition, and dreams are always, when we get to the invitation, inviting us to growth and balance. Waking dream energy. This is a phrasing that I have come to. And it is when things arise from within, from that deeper level of us, when metaphor, image, symbol, sensing arise, or are called up from within our inner being. And quite often, this level of us loves to be invited and will reveal if we release a question and allow the arising to arrive, if it will. A little more about waking dream energy. When metaphor, image, symbol, sensing arise, or are called up from within our inner being, that's what I call waking dream energy. In this scenario, there is slightly less potential for pristine wisdom, inviting us to inner growth or balance. However, it's arising in metaphor or image or symbol or sensing, and we can use the same pattern of symbol, pointer, invitation. Give yourself some time now to let surface instances of dreams remembered after sleeping and/or instances of waking dream energy that have arisen. Let any invitations within these rememberings reveal themselves. Archetypal dream energy, and these comments and facts that I'm stating are more slanted towards the archetypal part of the overlap. Archetype: image, symbol, energy within the collective unconscious. So it's not specifically our pool of sensory memory that the nurturing aspect of the more than us brings to our consciousness in waking dream energy or dream energy. It's within the collective unconscious, and yet it arises within us. We all have different levels of some archetypal possibilities. Sometimes more than elements provide an infusion, as in a 10-year-old story in part 2, I felt like a queen. The actual queen energies that were infused beyond my knowing were to provide, to protect, to comfort. That's what this 10-year-old needed in a big way to compensate for the depth of fear being repressed. A spontaneous inner reaction, not an aware one, orchestrated by a caring element of more than. Another fact: we can call up and develop our natural archetypal giftings, as Angela's Arian demonstrates in her book, The Fourfold Way. This book explains and gives exercises to develop 4 intrinsic archetypal energies we all have to some degree: warrior, teacher, healer, visionary. And I'm going to name, as we move through these individually, some warrior, teacher, healer, visionary aspects in the stories about Days I Don't Go Out, Stress, Killer Whales, and a 10-year-old story, parts 1, 2, and 3. 4 natural archetypal giftings we all have to some extent: warrior, teacher, healer, visionary. For the warrior, the 10-year-old solved the problem without help. Facing the challenge in You Are Obsessive Compulsive, the story. Naming and confronting the killer whales. Teacher. The 10-year-old repeated responses that had feelings that she liked. I learned that deeper desires can invite to growth. Story about stress. Healer. More than elements provided compensation of queen energy to offset the depth of fear in the 10-year-old story. More than elements providing the arising, the swallowing up sense is in my head for the killer whale story. You can't afford to be stressed in the story about stress. And these heroines heard, acted, and became their own healers. visionary. Deciding to honour outer world stance commitments over private self-preferences, story about days I don't go out. Arriving at the solution, go next door, 10-year-old story. Dropping one subject to heal stress, story about stress. Becoming aware of archetypal and dream energy arisings, combining with knowings in our well of sensory memory, means that aspects of reality for us that we thought were solid reality are really blurred. And/or we are invited to let them go. That's the challenge of life, and movement, and inner balance and harmony. Give yourself some time now to let surface one or more occasions when one of your archetypal energies, warrior, teacher, healer, visionary, were operating for you. Here we have an image of a beautiful swan. The important part of the image in this experience is the reflection down below, which is hazy. And I'm interpreting the part that's above water, solid, seems that as our conscious. And I'm thinking and using it as a metaphor that the part under the water is what we're talking about, really talking about in this third layer. It's also true in our second layer. What we're conscious of is only a fraction of the reality of who we are and the potential that we have to become more in harmony and more balance, particularly about those things which have gone out of balance from our survival strategy and how we deal with the outer world. My summary. A third layer of me in my skin is where more than elements arise which have potential for each of us to integrate wisdom beyond our conscious knowing into our lives. Specific ways to become aware of this potential are to notice, receive, and act upon archetypal and dream energy arisings. Noel Davis, again, has a lovely poem which brings this into perspective in a cyclical way. The poem called At the Edge. It's scary and breathtaking living at the edge of our lives. Just us, the edge, and the vast unknown. And echoing down the valley of our hearts, the constant call to trust. Yet how quickly that edge becomes a settled place without an echo, a niche to align and realign till we feel satisfied, lulled into complacency by the now safe edge. Our satisfaction undetermined by a new awareness, calling us from beyond the edge of who we have become. Has experience 16 expanded your awareness that archetypal and dream energy arisings have invitations to growth and balance? Our strategy. This one is to increase our capacity to become aware of archetypal, sleeping dreaming, and waking dream energy invitations. Gift yourself with 7 to 10 minutes at the end of the day, allowing whichever archetypal, sleeping dreaming, and/or waking dream energy arisings in one or more of your very own stories surface. Gently notice and receive them. The next morning, gift yourself with soaking in whatever aspect has most energy from the night before, and perhaps speak or write them. Experience 11 was of layers of feeling reactions in my very own stories that are stored. Experience 12 of how a first pattern of feeling reactions is repeated and becomes a survival strategy to cope with an imperfect world. Experience 13 of how survival strategies impinge on life and living. Experience 14 of inner self-awareness wipeouts in my private self-arena that are at first unconscious. Experience 15 was of pools of pain. And experience 16 is of a third layer of me in my skin, archetypal and dream energy arisings, and these have invitations for me to move to inner growth and balance. So, learn how dream and archetypal energy underpin inner self-awareness wipeout patterns. Experience 17. Thank you for being a part of Experience 16.